What's up, guys? Welcome to our very first episode of Tenders Talk, a video game podcast featuring myself, Adam Henderson, and my good friend Nick White. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Living the dream. Nothing better than a Nintendo Direct and just finally getting some good news from Nintendo. We had the mini Direct in like January, or was it February? I think it was
Right.
January, but man, it felt like a long drought, even though it really wasn't.
I was getting scared we're gonna have the Wii U Part 2 where there's just no games for a while.
Yeah, it was looking like second year was gonna was gonna be sparse, but now after this direct, it's looking. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
What do you? Aside from Smash, because we'll talk about that in a second. But like, what are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
excited about? Like, what are you excited about from the direct?
I think the big thing I'm excited about is Dark Souls because we had Skyrim come out recently and we've had Doom come out recently. And I think one of the cool things about the Switch is for Nintendo fans, bunch of Nintendo fanboys that we are, we didn't have the consoles when they were new to play those games with other people online and stuff. I haven't played I didn't play Dark Souls until it was quite old, and everyone had moved on to Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, even. So to get that, so that there's a community in the Nintendo area of these third-party games that were only released on the Xbox or the PlayStation 3 is promising to me. That more game companies are trusting Nintendo this time around, unlike with the Wii U, to have a player base for their games, that their games will be bought on the Switch. So,
Yeah, and just for frame of reference, myself, I've never. The only non-Nintendo system I have owned is a PS2, and I've only had that for like 3 years now, so I got it like super long ago. And Nick, you have a similar history. You had a PlayStation earlier in your
mhm,
earlier childhood than I ever did.
mhm,
Um, but both of us are pretty Nintendo-centric players,
yeah,
and that's I don't know. That's where our knowledge is at, and that's probably where we're going to talk about most of the time. Anyways, Direct. So Dark Souls is really cool. It was announced a while ago too.
right.
The amiibo is
But the
interesting.
amiibo, yeah, I like the amiibo. I need to get me some amiibos. I don't know
I,
why I need them actually, but I
that's
want
the
them.
that's my thing with amiibo. I have a shelf full of Fire Emblem amiibo actually, and I use them for like. I've used a few of them for Fire Emblem Fates, but otherwise it's just kind of like I don't use them. They look cool and everything. I have the Almond Celica
Mhm,
amiibo that I've literally never used, but they look
right.
sick, so I have them.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's the only reason I'd want them. It's just because they're cool to just have them sit on a desk or something.
yeah, they look sick. It's just really, to me, it's just higher quality than I honestly expected from these amiibo.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so from the direct, the thing that really stuck out to me though, so you were mentioning Dark Souls, and that's like a
Hmm.
really hardcore, brutal RPG, but I'm really excited about Octopath Traveler. So that's its official name. For a while there, they were calling it like Project Octopath Traveler,
Right.
but now it's just Octopath Traveler, and it's like I don't know if you know much about it. It's a
No, no.
callback
Can
to
you give me a
like
rundown a little bit? I
yeah,
saw
it's like
the video for it, but
it's like a
I'm
callback to
not.
like 16-bit era RPGs. So think like Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6,
Hmm.
and it's taken evolution. I feel there's a demo on the eShop as well, but I feel like it's taken from um, games like Bravely Default and even
Ooh.
the Final Fantasy like 4 Heroes of Light or whatever it was called for the DS. And it's
Hmm.
just advancing on that style of JRPG where it's turn-based, but they have like an interesting system in place.
Hmm.
And the art style is just really pretty. It reminds me of those SNES JRPGs that I love so much. And I'm just really excited for that game, and I'm happy to finally get a release date, which I believe is June. I know it's this summer, and I'm just pumped for it.
Right.
That's definitely a first day purchase for me. I'm getting that on launch day, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
And then
That's
Elephant in
awesome.
the Room, the very end of the direct was huge.
Wait, wait, wait. Just to go back a little
Oh,
bit,
okay,
I'm also excited for Crash Bandicoot coming to the Switch.
really? I've never played any
Yeah.
of them. Like, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, so like you said, I had a PlayStation earlier in life, so I did play those Crash games. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that Crash Tag Team Racing isn't, coming anytime soon, it looks like. But Crash 1 and 2 and 3, those are fun games. I mean, the Crash series itself is just fun. I So having it come to the Nintendo console for the first time ever is, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Dark Souls, that Nintendo's getting some trust from these other companies because their innovations haven't always worked, but this time it is, and so the Switch is awesome. It's awesome, and
You
yeah,
can't fight those sales numbers. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly. And so more people are jumping on board, which in turn means that the Switch will have a longer life than the Wii U. We won't have to worry about these droughts of just no games besides Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U was, I think, their one big game on the Wii U.
I mean,
I mean, there's a few
I
more,
mean,
like Splatoon is
I'll,
good, and
Splatoon's awesome. Mario Kart 8 is
that's
debatably the
right.
best Mario Kart out there. I'll go out and
Hmm.
say that. I mean, it's like I guess it's better on the Switch.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's the Mario games. Super Mario 3D World. A lot of people sleep on that. Um, but
Mm,
but I totally agree with you that the Wii U was at times there were these like weird game droughts where it was like months between big titles from Nintendo, and all
right.
we would get in between were like small, indie games or shovelware that honestly wasn't that good or worth playing.
Hmm.
So this is just a really nice change. The past year for Nintendo has been huge. This is
Yeah.
something they definitely needed, and it makes me excited as a Nintendo fan, just to see them do well. I don't know what it is about when the company you like makes money, but you're like, yeah, I am on that team. We won.
The team's winning. Yes.
So they're
Yeah.
making money. I'm making money too, which isn't true
Yeah.
at all because they're getting my money.
They're
But
getting all your money. Yeah.
it's awesome. I'm really happy
Yeah.
about the Switch and how it's doing this year and all the support it's getting from third
Yeah.
parties.
And then obviously Mario Tennis. I don't know. You weren't too happy that they spent a whole lot of time on it,
Well,
but
when you take
I
you
mean as much
take
time as they did.
I mean, if it was filled with more exciting things, I mean, they talked about like the
Hmm.
different shots and stuff, and
Yeah, that
like,
is kind.
and it sounds like it was just boring. It dragged, man. It felt like the
Okay.
direct was 30 minutes. That felt like 3 hours in the middle of the 30 minutes that went on. It was just ridiculous.
Okay. So you're not
But
upset about the Mario Tennis part, just that it was kind of a boring and long segment in the direct
exactly,
that they
I
didn't need
love
to spend as much time on.
Mario Tennis for the 64 is probably it. I don't know if I want to say that for sure, but it's one of my most played N64 games of all time. I love
Mhm.
Mario Tennis for 64. I haven't played one since, so I am excited. I may pick it up for Switch. I'm not entirely sure, but as of right now, I'm optimistic for it. It looks good. I just wish the direct wasn't so Mario Tennis centric, and they would have spent more time on something else that we're going to talk about later in the episode,
Oh, yeah,
namely Fire Emblem 16, which they announced forever ago, but they still haven't talked about it. But we'll get to that in a minute.
right. And then
Uh,
I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Oh, I'm just waiting for the next Super Strikers too.
Dude, Mario Soccer so good.
Mario Soccer. That's I think their best of the sports games is the Super Striker series. So
There's an argument to be made for that. I agree. That's
yeah.
the one for GameCube was really good, and then like the Wii, like Striker's Charge or whatever was just like ridiculously over the top. It was so fun.
Oh, that's why it's the best.
Yeah, I
All
agree.
right.
Okay, so let's talk Smash real quick before we move on from the direct.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when the Inklings popped up after, they just spent like I don't even know how long. That also felt like a really long time on Splatoon. I'm a big Splatoon fan. I've
Mm-hmm.
played. I don't. I don't like to admit how many hours I've played of that game.
Right.
um, but It just dragged on. It was much like the Mario Tennis thing. I felt like it was just a little longer than it needed to be to overstay its welcome. And then when
Hmm.
but the Inklings popped up again in the Nintendo's trademark. Wait, there's one more thing. And I
What?
honestly, honestly, just from the animation style and everything, it looked like a Smash trailer, and it got my hopes up for a second there. And
Hmm.
then the awesome dramatic reveal, the Inkling girl turns around and the Smash symbol in her eye appears, and you're just like, I was watching it live, and my wife was in the other room. I literally jumped out of my seat and did like a little like yes. I was so excited.
Oh man.
So I'm just pumped that it's happening. I
Oh
love
yeah.
Smash.
Oh yeah. And it looks like it's going to be a whole new Smash. And you know, I had this conversation with my brother-in-law. He was asking, do you think it's just going to be like Mario Kart 8 was or Splatoon was, where it's mostly just a port over to the Switch from the Wii U? But from what it looks like, they got the new Link design from his Breath of the Wild. It looks like so.
Which is awesome, by the way.
I guess that's a good sign that it's a whole new game in itself, and the fact that they didn't release it the first year with those other ports is also promising.
Let me ask you this. So,
Hmm.
do you want Breath of the Wild Link, or like I guess you could call him Champion Link or something? Do you want him to
Hmm.
be added to Smash in addition to Toon Link and like normal Link, or do you want him to replace one of those? Or do you want him to just to be an alternate costume for Link?
I think they're gonna stick with this newest version of Link for a while, just because he's been so popular, and so I wouldn't actually mind if you just replaced, normal Link at this point, because he's the new Link in my eyes.
I just wonder if that's. I just wonder if they would change his move set at that point. I mean,
Hmm.
you do use boomerangs, but not really. The bow and arrow is still a huge fixture.
Right.
But are they going to add like spears and like ginormous swords and hammers and stuff to his arsenal and Smash? I mean, I hope so.
Maybe.
That'd be freaking
Yeah.
sick.
Right.
And like, is he going to have something to do with his, the Sheikah Slate and have all the runes? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
But I would. I'm personally in the camp that wants him to be a separate character because I
Hmm.
think he doesn't represent the series in a way that the normal generic green hat, green tunic Link does. I feel
Hmm.
that Link represents the Legend of Zelda as a whole, and blue shirt new Link can be his own little character and represent one of the most popular video games of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Or you can get
I
rid of Toon
guess.
Link. I don't really care for Toon Link all that much.
Yeah.
I'll be that guy.
All right. Get rid of Toon Link. I'm all right with that too. Yeah.
Side note: Wind Waker is one of my favorites. Don't hate. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just you know, I I don't want so many just clone characters. I know there's quite a few in Melee with Marth and Roy, and then Dr. Mario. And obviously in the Wii U Smash Bros, the move sets are and the playstyles are just different enough that they are separate characters, not quite clones. But I mean, do we really need Lucina and Roy? Do we really need? Not Roy. Sorry, Marth. Lucina and
Yeah. No.
Marth. Do we really need Ness and Lucas?
Those two
Or
are pretty
maybe
different.
okay,
Those
those
two are
two
pretty
are
different.
different. Dr. Mario and Mario. I don't know. It
Yeah, I don't see why Dr. Mario couldn't be like a skin for Mario or something. But
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, the game is probably far enough along that what we say here won't really change a whole lot.
I
But
don't think if the game came out in 5 years, I don't think what we were saying right now would matter a whole lot.
that's
Sakurai's gonna
fair
do
enough.
Sakurai, man.
Sakurai's
Uh,
gonna do.
but
Yeah.
I agree. Clone characters are a plague that I'm okay with because they don't take a whole lot of resources
Right.
to to make compared to like a
Hmm.
balancing a brand new character. But you pointed out Lucina and Marth. They are essentially the same character aside from damage balance on their sword,
Hmm.
which essentially just makes Lucina the inferior character to Marth if you're good. So I don't know. Lucina's cool though. I
Yeah.
she's
All right.
I think she's one of the cooler characters that got added to Smash, but I am biased because I love Fire Emblem.
Yeah. I just, there's so many of the other ones. They added Roy, which makes me happy, and he was different enough from Marth that I will accept it. And then Corrin from Fates, I guess, is all right, whatever. And then Robin. I think Robin is the most unique of the Fire Emblem characters brought in because of his magic use. But
He really is. Robin is cool. I wish they would have had the courage to get rid of his sword, but I feel like he has the sword as like a crutch for
mhm,
just like gameplay for whatever reason. It would have been cool if they got rid of
right.
it. I do like his magic and stuff. I wish they had more of that. I do
Hmm.
hope they add super unpopular opinion. I want Smash to have more Fire Emblem characters, and I want it to. And there's other characters too that I want in, but that's just what I'm thinking about right now. Like, give me Celica, give me Lynn, give me Alm, give me it all. I don't
Oh,
care. Or make like,
Hector. Give me Hector.
oh
There we
my
go.
gosh, that would be so cool. Never gonna happen. I'll say that.
No,
Probably never gonna happen. But
no,
that'd
probably
be
not.
sick.
Hmm. All right.
All right.
So let's move on to this next little bit, which is they did not announce anything for Fire Emblem in this
Driving
direct.
me up the wall. I don't know if you look at the Fire Emblem Reddit, but
Hmm. No, I don't.
that
But
thing broke. That thing broke for like 2 days because no, like everyone was just like in shock and just mad that it wasn't talked about. It was so funny.
yeah,
It honestly was really funny to see people just so upset about it. And I personally, I was hoping the one more thing at the end would have
was gonna be
been.
that.
I was really hoping. Then the Inkling showed up, and I was like, okay, Smash, whatever. And by whatever, I mean, heck yeah, I love Smash. I was pumped. But I was still
Hmm.
a little disappointed the entire time that we didn't even get like a teaser trailer, just like a CGI cutscene or something, so we could like see a bit of the story or see the character or something. I just want to know a little bit about it.
Or at least
But
just a name for what it's gonna be called
I
instead of
know
working title.
just the name would be so exciting. It would get so much hype out of it.
Hmm.
There's actually a lot of leaks about this new Fire Emblem game, which let's be honest, probably aren't true. Some of them sounded pretty cool, where it's like essentially like Pirate Emblem or Vampire Emblem. They sound kind of cool, so it's like got some Castlevania Fire Emblem stuff going on. Um, but
Oh no.
because of those leaks and the fact that it's probably just someone talking and making stuff up, we want to make
Hmm.
some stuff up for what we want to happen in Fire Emblem 16. We're not going to get like into specific story events or anything or like super specific things, but we are going
Hmm.
to talk a lot about gameplay and then maybe some overall story elements that we would like included and handled and how we'd like them
Hmm.
handled. But first, let's start with gameplay. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do that. All right. So, classes. No, yeah, let's do classes.
All right. So personally, I
Hmm.
think Fire Emblem classes in Awakening and Fates. I'm going to exclude Echoes because that was a remake, but in the newer
Right.
games, Awakening and Fates, I feel like the classes have just become. They're not as unique as they used to be. Where in a
No.
game where classes aren't very unique to begin with, the only thing that really separates a class from any other class
Hmm.
is, their max stats and the weapons they use.
Hmm.
But
Move type, maybe even.
and move
We could
type,
throw
you're
that in
right.
there.
Like between
Yeah.
armor, infantry, and flying, mounted, whatever.
Right.
But I feel like in the more recent games, with all the reclassing you can do,
Hmm.
classes are just like all that really matters is their stat cap and I guess what weapon they use. But they have all these skills and
Hmm.
stuff, and you can just like I don't know. To me, I don't know about you, but I want classes to be simplified, but not like too simple. I still want choices and options, but don't make it so I can reclass endlessly and get whatever skills I want. Like Fates did it better than Awakening, but you can still basically get any class you want to. I
Right.
don't know. Sorry. This is just I don't like how they did it. Your thoughts?
No, you're right. I think it's too. It, y anyone can be any class instead of having their own unique class that fits them, you know. Which in the older games, you have an armor knight that stays an armor knight the whole time because that's who they are in a sense. So when you take that away,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it
so
fits in their class. Like it fits their character. It fits their growth rates, their stats, and everything. And
mhm,
it just makes sense for them to stay that class. Like in Awakening, I think of the Wyvern rider with the red hair,
Oh, Churchy, Churchy,
whatever.
Church.
She has her Wyvern Minerva, right?
hmm
But you change her to like a Griffin Knight or any other class. She's like, oh, like in her level up quote, she's always like, oh, Minerva, what did you think or whatever. And you're just like,
Right.
Dragon's not there, babe. You're doing
Yeah,
this wrong.
Dragon's dead to us.
So I think
Yeah.
reclassing. I think we can agree on that. The reclassing needs to be either completely reimagined or just done away with. Agreed?
hmm I
Uh,
I agree. I don't think reclassing is a very good idea in the first place. Though I know a lot of people like that because of the ability to make a character, overpowered or fit to their team's needs, but I just think it takes away from the game itself. It just makes it that much less strategy behind it.
yeah, it encourages juggernauting. It encourages having one
hmm
unit that's just insanely overpowered with amazing skills, like all the best skills, and
hmm
you just go you just send them in the middle of an army and destroy everyone. I don't like
Yep.
that game design.
hmm
But
Yeah.
what are some classes that you either want brought, like what are some classes that you want brought back that have either left or been changed or I don't know,
hmm
what are some of your favorite classes that you want in FE16?
I think the big one for me is the Wyvern Knight class from Sacred Stones.
So
I
we're
know they
talking
kind
about
of
like the faster like the one that
hmm
both Pegasus Knights and Wyvern Knights can become,
can
right?
become
The like
right. So the
okay.
faster ones, so like Valter was a Wyvern Knight. That's the only example I think. But yes, the faster ones that both uh, Pegasus and Wyvern people can become in that game. I think I really
I
like
agree.
that difference. It was different enough to have a Wyvern Knight versus a Wyvern Lord that it was kind of fun to experiment with both. But I really enjoyed the Wyvern Knight more in the long run. So I like them back with their pierce skill and everything. It'd be fun.
I think a class that I want brought back that you actually got a little taste of it in Echoes is the Summoner class. I don't know. I just really like the idea of summoning like just HP sponges, just like little meat shields for you to send in the battle and kill people and like just die for you.
Right.
And and in Echoes you get a little bit of that with the healers can some of the healers can invoke. It's called like
Invoke.
invoke dread fighters or invoke Pegasus knights and soldiers and stuff. And it was
hmm
just really fun. The dread fighters, especially Silk, can do dread fighters and can just straight up murder people. They can actually like murder people because dread fighters at base are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
But another thing, more than just like any class that comes back, I just want more classes. In that, not that
hmm
I want a bunch of more starter classes. I want 3 tiers.
hmm
So like Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn style, I want to have the Myrmidon Swordmaster Trueblade or the Fighter Warrior Reaver. I because I just remember playing that for the first time. I got that game like 2 days after it launched because it's like a birthday present and stuff. I was for a little Adam,
Yeah.
and it blew my mind in like part three when who I think I got Shinin because Shinin, whatever, ponytail archer guy.
hmm
I got him to level 20. I got him to level 20. And I had expected his XP to just stop growing.
It's maxed out, right?
And then it kept going, and I was like, "What? Can you go past level 20 in this game?" And then boom, class changed, and I was like, "Wow, marksman, he's so cool!" And yeah, it blew my
Yeah.
frickin' mind. I just want that
No,
back.
I'm with you on that one. The 3 tier, I really like that. Uh, Another thing I'd like back, again going back to Sacred Stones, is the branching classes. So say you have a dark mage. That dark mage can class change, evolve, whatever you want to call it, to a druid or a summoner. Yeah. Canis is evolving.
Yeah, it's a Chrome is evolving. You press B.
Dun
No, I don't
dun
want. Not yet.
dun
Not yet. Not
dun
yet.
dun dun.
Um,
But yeah, I
yeah,
like
I
that
agree.
branching because I think we were complaining about how the whole class reclassing is ridiculous and kind of overpowers the unit, but I think and takes away from a unit's personality and position in the team. But I think with that you have enough differences between the two different classes that it gives you something to do on a second playthrough
hmm
with your units just to see how each unit plays and how each class plays. But it'll keep their personality. It'll keep what their position is in the team,
Yeah,
in
so
a
it adds a
sense.
lot of replay value with that.
Yeah.
And could you imagine branching promotions with a three-tier system?
Oh, so
Bro,
good.
blowing my mind. I want that so bad. That'd
That'd
be so
be.
cool to have to. You start off with a sword master. You can choose what like imagine
Hmm.
that. Like you have like Myrmidon. He's like, oh, you can be an assassin or a sword master. And then from there, there's like another one. I don't even know what they like. True Blade or super assassin. I don't know. I don't even care because it would be so cool.
It would
I just
be. Ah.
I want it so bad. Ugh. All right, so enough about classes. Let's move on.
Hmm.
Let's talk about map design.
Hmm.
This is like super hotly debated thing in Fire Emblem communities, and I'm just gonna say this right now. Number one thing for a map to be good is that it's fun.
Right.
Like I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. I don't care what it is or how it's done. As long as it's fun, it's cool. But let's talk about some of the things that do make it fun or engaging to keep you entertained. Like
Hmm.
what do you think?
Well, I think where a lot of the Fire Emblem games fall short is that they have just too much open space in the middle of the fields. In the middle of this map, there's not enough variety in a lot of them. It's just too big and sprawling.
What do you mean by open space? Like, do you mean like so? Sorry, I guess I'll give my thought. When you say open
Hmm.
space, I think of genealogy. So Fire Emblem 4 with genealogy of the Holy War, which
Hmm.
is like sure there's plenty of like villages to go visit and there's stuff to do, but most of that game becomes like a walking simulator where
Hmm.
you kill a bunch of guys, you kill a group of enemies that came charging at you, and then you just kind of take 2 or 3 turns marching your lord to the castle to take it over,
Right.
which is just I think is frustrating and stupid, especially when you have like 20 I think it's 24 characters per generation to control. If you want to use everybody, that becomes just a huge hassle. It's not even it gets so tedious that it makes me not want to play.
Right.
That's a bad. Don't do that.
Yes.
FE16, please don't do that.
All right. So yeah, I think just too much. I think is
hmm
where we both agree on that. That it's there's too much, and it
Too much
makes it
space.
too much space, which makes the moving and every single character. And if the enemy's on the far side of the field, that just gets crazy. But what I'm talking about is I've been playing through Echoes a little bit, and there are some maps that are just nothing around it. There's nothing. Like there's some where you have the graves, you have the forests, and everything to add a little bit of strategy in the sense of you hide a unit in forest, they get a little bit more evasive and a little bit more defense. But then there's just like these maps that there's nothing in the whole map besides like a couple of trees in the middle, and I think it makes it a little bit less fun to interact with the map in that sense. I going back to the old GBA games, Binding Blade, Blazing Sword, they had houses, they had villages, they had mountains and the sea, they have forests and fortresses everywhere. They were just all over the map. So I think I'd want to see more of that,
Yeah, so I
you
think
know.
what you're touching on is another thought I had is just having multiple objectives, like just things going on all over the map, so it doesn't get
Mhm.
boring. It's
Mhm.
an example I think of is I can't, I'm terrible remembering chapter names and stuff like that, but in Fire Emblem 7, Blazing Sword, It's the map where you have Eric of House Loss, and you have to like go. You have the giant field. It's actually the exact same map actually appears in Fire Emblem 6 as well. But
Hmm.
there's two villages, and there's pirates down in the bottom corner that'll appear and start walking across the sea. That'll come and get one of the villages, and there's brigands up in the top corner of the map that'll go get the other village. And there's people. There's like two characters to recruit, and
Hmm.
you're also trying to complete the mission objective to complete the level. And I
Hmm.
always think of that chapter fondly when I get to it. I'm excited to play it because there's just so much going on and so much to do. To me, that's what is fun to me. I like being engaged and having a lot going on.
Right.
And that
And
is
that,
one example that does it really well.
yeah, I'd agree. That is a good chapter. I like that one a lot. I've forgotten about that one.
What about level
So,
length? What are your thoughts on level length? Like, do you like those? Do you like some of those Tellius maps, those FE9, FE10 maps where you're sitting there for an hour and a half to get through?
oh,
Or do you
jeez.
prefer the 10-minute, 15-minute guided maps, like in terms of length?
Um, I think optimally, as a full-time student and working all the time on homework and at a job to pay for all of, everything, I think right now Fire Emblem Heroes is nailing it in map length in the sense I can just play it for 2 minutes, put it away, I'm done. Go back to homework. I just needed a 2 minute break. Okay, play some Fire Emblem, put it back down,
So,
back to what I was doing.
unless
So
Intelligent Systems wants to enrage some fans, I don't think we're gonna get Fire Emblem Heroes as
no, and
FE16 for
I hope that doesn't
for
happen.
Switch. That'd be so bad. I would be so mad. I hope it
Uh,
doesn't happen.
no,
I doubt it
yeah.
will. But in terms of like normal games, what are your thoughts?
All right. I think I do like the Tellius games, but I think a lot of those levels got so tedious. And I got thinking about this recently, actually. I like in Shadow Dragon actually how they've implemented, these halfway marks that you can just save at in the level. So if you're gonna have a longer level, you know, I like having those save maps or those saving marks where you can go to. And that also adds a little bit of strategy as to, when do I save? If you're doing
Hmm.
a defensive level, when do you want to save the game? Do you want to do it right at the beginning? Obviously not. Do you want to do it right at the end? No, you want to plan it out. And
Do before a
I think,
dangerous move or do it before a dangerous turn. I
yeah,
agree.
so,
And I mean, and they've always had like you could suspend your game, you could like
hmm.
save but you'd have to exit the game and it would, erase your save once you use the suspended point. But I
Hmm.
agree. I really like that in Shadow Dragon. Um, I I prefer that to in Radiant Dawn when you play on easy or normal. It
Hmm.
is you can battle save whenever you want, and then in FE4 you can save every single turn actually. Um, but I actually do prefer how Shadow Dragon did it, where it was like you said, like there's one or two like halfway points that you could save at.
Hmm.
It saved on your need to sit down and play through the entire thing, and it also
Right.
allowed you to save at dangerous points, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my thought on it. If they're gonna do longer levels, I think it would be nice to have that save point in the middle, or
Yeah.
just to use strategically. So
Hmm. I agree,
yeah.
and I'm in a similar boat with between school and work and everything. I'm really busy, but I'm a sucker for just like large sprawling maps that take hours to get through, as long as they're interesting. Because part of it is I like to like try and plan it out and see, I don't do low turn counting, I don't LTC at all, but I do like
Hmm.
to try and be optimal and be quick, and it's just a fun way to think about it sometimes.
Hmm.
And in shorter maps that becomes easier than on harder maps in some instances. So I just want to point out some things, some map designs I don't like really quick before we move
Hmm.
on, just because I thought of this.
Hmm.
I played through Fire Emblem Fates. I'm playing through all three branches of Fire Emblem Fates right now. I finished Conquest, actually like mid last year. I finished Birthright a couple months ago, like a month ago. Actually, no, like a couple weeks ago. and I'm in
Hmm.
like chapter 16 of Revelation right now. So Conquest was a lot of fun. Everyone always praises it for the best map design of the three, best gameplay of the three, and I'd agree
Hmm.
at this point. Birthright was great and everything, and so far Revelation has been fine. But what I will say is that in terms of map design, the final levels in both Birthright and Conquest were just stupid. I didn't like them. I don't know what it was about them. It was just like straight hallways, tons of enemies, and it was just frustrating to play through. That like just enemies that are like insanely just stacked.
Hmm.
I was playing on hard, by the way. I don't know. I ended up just rescue skipping them and beating them both and beating the like Birthright. I beat both parts of the final chapter in one turn just because I didn't want to deal with it um, with rescue skipping. But
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just my thought on certain level designs in the newer games. Is that Conquest does a really good job of making it interesting and giving you different objectives. Birthright is boring because everything's route or defeat boss. There might be some C's I don't really remember. And Rev has been like over the top gimmicky with too many things going on. Namely, I'm just gonna call it the snow shoveling level. So get this, Nick. There is a level that's literally everything is covered in snow, and you have to attack the snow to make it go away, and then just like enemies will just pop or just appear there, and they can just kill you on enemy phase or
Oh
something.
my
I don't know. It's just
gosh,
BS to me. But whatever.
that is
That's my
stupid.
two
All
cents on
right,
Fate.
yeah.
That's my 2 cents on map design with Fates. I just want to throw that out there
All right,
because I'm
that's not
playing that
good.
right now.
All right.
So overall difficulty of the games.
Hmm.
I personally am okay with casual and class, like having casual
Yeah,
mode and everything. It doesn't bother me. I just don't use it, but I don't know.
yeah.
Some people hate it.
Well, I'm not really against the casual mode. I like you personally. I will never play it on casual mode because I have these things called standards, and I have
Careful,
self-esteem.
you're gonna make people upset at you, man.
But
Casual,
casual mode
casual
is
mode's
pathetic.
fine.
Yeah, keep it. I mean, keep it because I've talked to too many people, where I've said, yeah, Fire Emblem is like my favorite game series. It's amazing. And they're just like so intimidated, and they're just like, oh, but what if my character dies, at the very end of the level, and it's too hard, and I have to go back, or I just have to let them die because of the permadeath. I'm like, well, there's casual mode, so I guess you can play on casual mode if you're really going to stress out that much about it. But
And let's be real, like 99% of the time, if a character dies, you just start the
you
map
just
over
start the
anyway.
level
Let's be
over. Yeah.
honest. So casual mode really isn't a big difference from that. They just come back. I will
No.
say confession
Hmm.
in like I can't remember I think it was like chapter 26 of Birthright. Ryoma died, and I let him die, and I continued onward. That's right. I let Ryoma die, and I don't even care.
Hmm.
Um, for those who don't know, he's super stacked, potentially the best character in the game, aside
Right.
from maybe Corrin. Has a broken pref weapon and is awesome.
Hmm.
And then I just didn't care because I was just done
Yeah.
with that. That's one. I was just it was just tedious, and I was done with it. Anyways,
Yeah. I'm
other
about ready to
difficult.
just let Jesse die in my playthrough of Echoes. He's died so many times while
What
I've been
levels
trying
you?
to.
What levels you at?
I think he's level 9 right now.
As a mercenary or a myrmidon?
Mercenary right now.
Mercenary. And
Yeah, I'm not that far along,
what act are
but
you in?
I don't remember because
Oh,
I pick it up and play it for a time, and then I put it down for way too long, and then I pick it up again after a long time.
uh-huh.
So I don't really remember what's going on in the story anymore.
Hey man,
But
just
I
let him
picked it up
die. It is
today.
a
Yeah.
liberating feeling the first time you just let a character die. It sounds dumb, but honestly, it is so nice.
Just let him go.
Because playing
Or
levels
her.
over sucks, and Fire Emblem is never so hard that if one character dies, you're done for, unless you're doing some really specific like LTC strats or something.
Hmm.
But just let him die. I'm gonna throw that out there. Permadeath is great. Just let it happen.
Just just let him die.
Every
All
Fire
right.
Emblem should be Iron Man style always.
So here's here's a question for you. How do you feel about overall difficulty of the games?
So I don't want it to be like Thracia 776, so FE5,
Hmm.
where it's just if you go in blind, you are screwed over super hard. But I don't want it to be Path of Radiance or FE7 like Ellawood mode or Sacred Stones or Awakening or Fate's Birthright or Echoes.
Hmm.
So half the
Right.
series or FE4, most of the series or half the series where it's just really not that hard. And I guess really in pretty much any strategy game, if you know what you're doing, the game isn't hard at all. That's just how it works
Hmm.
because you know what moves to make and whatever. But I really want to find they need to have that balance where it isn't bullcrap when you die, but it's
Right.
like difficult number crunching and you actually have to think about it.
You're right. That's
But thinking is hard, so we don't want it to don't have to think too hard. But
yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Those are my thoughts. Thank you for listening to part one of this episode of Tender's Talk. Stick around for part two after the musical break. And welcome back to Tender's Talk. This is segment two. We're going to be talking about the story that we want to see in Fire Emblem 16. And of course, I am still joined by Nick. How you doing?
Still good, still here. How are you still doing?
I'm still good and still here. All
Okay.
right.
Voice hasn't given out yet.
Because
Let's do this.
it's been a whole long time since that last segment. All right.
Hmm.
So first, let's talk about the overall theme that we want to see in the story. We know that story plays a huge part in Fire Emblem, and
Hmm.
you know it's been done better in some than others. So let's talk about that now. And what kind of theme do you want to see in a new Fire Emblem?
So, Fire Emblem stories have always been kind of if it's good, it's kind of a nicety to have, you know. But as long as it's fun to play, I'll still play it. But at the same time, I still like the story, kind of thing. And I think we talked about it a little bit earlier with the really weird, rumors going around about what the stories are going to be in Fire Emblem. And I think, I read that stupid one about Vampire Emblem or whatever it is. And it just
Yeah.
reads like bad fan fiction. It just reeks of bad fan fiction. And so I hope, where the person just makes it a little too heavy, and I think that's kind of the problem is that, yeah.
I I think we can both I think we can both agree that
Hmm.
we just want the story to be serviceable.
Right.
Like don't be awful. Don't be cringy. Like you look at like Fire Emblem
Hmm.
Fates, and a lot of people hate the story there. And to me, especially like Birthright is like serviceable. It was
Hmm.
fine, and the gameplay was fun, so I was fine. And I think that's how it is for us. But there are a lot of people where story is really a really big part
Hmm.
of the game for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that.
It's kind of one of those weird things to try to talk about because it story always comes second to me in the Fire Emblem games. I never really expect a whole lot. Just don't make me cringe, I guess, is all I can ask for. Don't make me feel awkward, playing Fire Emblem and my wife's in the room. Don't give me Camilla's. Don't give me those weird like, hey, the avatar and there's a little picture with the avatar and the
get kicked.
girl, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like get Tharia out of here. Get Camilla out of here.
I
Enough
know.
with the fan
Unless,
service, please. I don't want my
exactly.
kids to see me
Eh,
playing this, man.
unless they add a bit to the story, but at the same time, like, I don't want like my wife to read over my shoulder or something and be like, "What kind of garbage is
What are you
this? You
doing?
know, like, oh, I'm sorry.
It's it's true. It's true. And some people like the fan service, and if you like the
Yeah.
fan service, well, good for you. But I'm not into that, and I think it takes away from
Hmm.
what could have been like a good story. I think Echoes
Yeah.
did a really good job with fan service. I mean, up to this point, you have from what you've told me, you have pretty
Hmm.
much almost every character in the game, and there's no one that's really extremely fan servicey. People would say Sonya, but she's like it's almost like
Yeah.
tastefully done
Oh,
compared to Awakening and
tasteful. I
Fates.
like that word. Yeah.
Um,
It tastefully done.
it's
Hmm.
gotta be gotta be careful with your fan service, or it just becomes overdone, and that's what we're talking about. Overdone fan service kills a
Yeah.
game. But
Okay.
let's talk about the main character. What kind of main character do you want to see?
Anything that doesn't have blue hair at this point. Not a blue-haired sword wielder, and I think most of the community is with me on this one. I want originality in my,
Oh yeah,
no more blue-haired sword lords.
yeah. Give us the red-haired female
Exactly.
axe lord we deserve. But
Hmm.
on like I guess on like a deeper note, like story wise, I want the Lord to just be like kick
Hmm.
butt and take names, like brutal. Doesn't like I don't want any of this like I hate killing people. Like I'm not gonna do it, and that's their character, whatever. But I want someone who isn't afraid to just
Hmm.
like murder people if they have to. They're not gonna be like murder crazy. They're not just gonna like go around killing people for fun. But if they're getting a battle, they're not gonna be like, my heart is heavy for the fallen souls. They're gonna be like, bro, they got in my way. I'm gonna save the world. I'm gonna kill you. And I want that. They need to be bad A's. They need to be so
Hmm.
cool, but they need to be heavily flawed as well. Example. I think of a lot of people will point this one out.
Hmm.
Leaf from 3C776 has like makes mistakes and suffers the consequences. Where we look at other Fire Emblems. I think trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Say Erica gives one of the sacred
Yeah.
stones to Leon, right? And it's just like, why the heck did you do that,
Right.
you idiot? But it all ends up being
No
fine in the end. No one
consequences.
died. Like, like essentially, it's just fine,
Right. Yeah.
right? But you agree, right?
Yeah.
In Sacred
No
Stones, it just
problem.
ends up being okay in the end. Whereas like Leaf has some like real consequences that I won't say it for like spoilers and whatever, but real consequences he deals with, and I appreciate that about his character. Whereas most lords is just kind of like crap happens. Oh no, it's their fault. But
Hmm.
oh, save the day. It's
Not.
fine.
Yeah.
There needs to be consequences for mistakes.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Millennials these days. Jeez. Don't want any consequences for their choices. I think
It's
in the
true.
end, what it comes down to is just something that hasn't been done over and over and over. And I think another thing for me is, that is, especially in Awakening, you have Robin as the main lord, and that basically, your main character, but he's so bland feeling because, yeah, he's. Hmm.
One of
Hmm.
one of my favorite descriptions of Robin
Hmm.
comes from a video by Gast. I don't know if you ever followed his channel, but he equates Robin's character development to a pizza pocket. Essentially, it's bland.
Yeah.
Nothing changes, and I totally agree.
No,
Robin is
you're
boring.
right. It's
So
so
sorry,
bland. And I
continue. I just
think
think that's hilarious.
the problem with that is that the story writers were like, oh, we got to make it so the player can project themselves onto this main character. And I think with a lot of the lords that happens. Your video about Ike kind of mentions how he's so bland. It doesn't really say a whole lot. And I think that's another part of it is they want you to be able to project your own personality, your own thoughts onto Ike instead of having them tell you. But the story suffers when you do something like that. The main character becomes bland. He becomes nothing.
I
A side character is more interesting than the main lord at that point.
mhm. Yeah, and I think the biggest problem with that with Ike
Mm-hmm.
is that he becomes like an exposition sponge, where it's like, oh, what's like like big example, like one of the examples is, oh, Gallia. What's Gallia?
Pick
It's like
up a
that's
book,
where
Ike.
it's literally the neighboring country. Ike, know something. It's like, oh, beast
Hmm.
people, subhumans. What are those? Call them lagoos, friend. That's rude. And it's just like he doesn't know anything. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? How does he not know anything? And that's one thing that
Hmm.
sorry, not to hate on Ike. I love Ike, cool character, but
Hmm.
cool design, just awesome stat wise unit boss. But yeah, exposition. I don't want an exposition sponge. I don't want a character that doesn't know
Yeah.
something for the sake of the player learning things. There's better
Or
way. There's other
heck,
ways
I
and
don't
better ways
care.
to do it.
Make us a little confused there for a bit. We don't need the exposition. We'll figure it out, kind of thing. And yeah,
Trust,
yeah.
yeah, trust the
I think
audience to have a brain, please.
that's the best way of putting it. And oh, another thing, I just want, going back to the blue-haired sword lord. We've had so many of them. I just want something that's aesthetically interesting compared to everyone else. Everything else, something that stands out a bit. Give us something new. Don't give us. I know they tried it with warriors a little bit, but man, those characters, those main two lords, the twins or whatever, are so ugly.
Rowan and
No,
Liana
they're
just
the
need to
worst.
not exist.
They,
I'm not a fan.
go aesthetically interesting, but also aesthetically intriguing.
Yeah, not just yeah, so not
Yeah.
just different, but cool at the same time. Different
Hmm.
and new and exciting. I think Ike did that when he first appeared, where he
Right.
wasn't your like he wears a lot of blue still, but he wasn't like
Hmm.
Marth or Roy or Ellawood, where
Right.
they're just clad in blue armor, right? Or Hector, where they're just clad in blue. And I understand that's like fits the
Right.
game motif of like good guys are blue, like it just fits. But I don't know. His like hit
Hmm.
the his cape was like tattered. He was wearing like
Hmm.
interesting. It almost looked like misfit armor until he gets his like spoiler
Right.
ish thing. His story promotion, where he gets his
Right.
like new outfit and like looks like a freaking boss.
Hmm.
I think Ike was just the headband was a nice touch. This is a little thing that I think added to Ike's
Yeah.
overall presentation that made him more interesting
I'll
than
agree with you on that one.
other
And then
characters.
in Radiant Dawn, yeah, Radiant Dawn, they bring him back, and instead of just another scrawny little lord, they beef him up like none other, and I'm just like, yes.
He's so
Hmm.
jacked. Side note, how would you feel about another Magic Lord
I'd
like
like it.
Micaiah?
Yeah.
That'd be a nice change, right? Like, but make them good.
Yeah, it'd probably
Micaiah
make him good.
sucks. Micaiah has it's interesting. Like
Hmm.
Micaiah, that game is a lot about stat caps of classes, and because it's usually
Hmm.
pretty easy to meet those stat caps with bonus experience and how that works. But I feel like Micaiah's really hard to reach her
Right.
some of her caps, especially like speed. But she has like a really good speed cap, so she has like potential to be good, but
No.
her growth and bases
Yeah.
just don't allow it.
Okay, give us a Magic Lord, but make the Magic Lord good. Is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't know,
Oh,
out of the blue, Dark Magic Lord. There it is.
dude, edgy
Never, not.
vampire
It's not
lord.
going to
There we
happen.
go.
But give it to
You
me,
figured it
please,
out.
IS.
There we go.
Oh, we're already halfway
It's
there.
gonna happen.
I'm just worried. I'm just worried that like an edgy vampire. Oh, never mind. Do you want the main character to be an avatar, or do you want it to be a
Set static character.
set
I
static character?
I think as we mentioned, story comes later, but I think the story will ultimately be more bland if we have an avatar like Robin, where we are supposed to be projecting ourselves upon this character. Give him a personality. Give him knowledge. Don't be like Ike, where he has no knowledge. Don't be like Robin, where he has no personality. Just make him a person that lives and breathes in this world that you're putting him into. Or her. Or her. I'd be fine with a her. I
Hmm.
keep saying he, but
And yeah, give me female
mm-hmm.
main character. I don't know why I want it, but I do. Like there's no real reason for
Yeah,
me. Like 'cause like Celica is probably one of my
yeah.
favorite main
And I think
characters in Fire Emblem.
Celica's
I
a
think
very
Celica's just cool.
interesting lord. Micaiah, going back to her, she's an interesting lord because she lives and breathes in this world. She has a backstory. She has a story that continues on. That's her own. And Erica's another one.
Sidebar: Micaiah has probably like
Hmm.
one of my favorite
Hmm.
backstories to an FE Lord. I mean, super spoiler heavy.
Yes,
I'm not going to say anything more,
yes,
but it is so cool.
yeah, I agree.
And another thing with like having an avatar character as the Lord just makes it so like a big problem in Fates is and Awakening is just that avatar is basically just like everyone sees them as the coolest person ever,
Hmm.
and no one can
Because
hate
you
them,
made
and they
them.
have to be and they're perfect. And it's just like I don't want
Hmm.
we don't want that, right? I mean, I understand the
Hmm.
development aspect of that, where you want the player to feel good, like want the player to feel like they're in the
Hmm.
game as the avatar and they're like a good person, and everyone loves them. But I want people to hate the
Yeah.
avatar. I want people to hate me. Oh,
Hmm.
perfect example. Breath of the Wild. Link, when he goes in,
Hmm.
my favorite is when Link goes and talks to the Zora for the first time. They hate him. They're like, screw you for
Right.
for what happened. I hate you so much. Like, oh, it was your fault that you took her away from us. And I was just like, when I was playing, I was like, ooh, I feel so bad. But
Hmm.
I was immersed in the story, even though Link isn't like an avatar. He isn't. I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
it just worked. Give
Yeah.
me stuff like that,
Yeah.
please.
I like that idea too. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but it's another reason that Robin is so boring is because everybody loves him. And Corrin, everybody loves Corrin.
Hmm.
So
There's even people that are like,
we
I'm
love
mad
you,
at you,
Corrin.
Corn, and then you beat them up, and then they're like,
Yeah.
I was just kidding. You're cool.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous.
All
Like,
right.
stop.
Yeah.
All right. So that's enough.
Yeah.
We've talked about main character for I don't know like 10 minutes now. Whoa. Okay. Support conversations. Super quick. Do you want a
Just the
lot of
right
them or a
amount.
little bit?
We
Little
don't
bit.
need awakening. What?
Okay,
Yeah.
Mama
Well, we
Bear.
don't need awakening amount, but we don't need Radiant Dawn, where it's just everyone has this cookie cutter support conversation. Hmm.
So essentially, they need to be
Yeah,
existent. What about like how do you
Echoes.
feel about
Yeah,
the Echoes
Echoes
balance?
is
I
done
love the
perfectly
Echoes
in my
amount
eyes
of
with their
supports
support
personally
conversations. Hmm.
because all the conversations make sense. Like I feel like too often, especially like I feel like too often characters will support in the newer games that you're
Hmm.
like, why are they even associating with each other? Like stop. Like why are they having all these conversations? And I understand it's like because the player is like playing
You're
God
playing
and
the
making these
shipping
people
lord.
meet and stuff, and I get it. I prefer Echoes where it is Tobin and Gray
Hmm.
obviously should have supports because they're bros. Gray and Claire should have supports because there's some unrequited love there or unrequited love, and it's just
Hmm.
like it's just cool. I love those supports that do happen in Echoes. I will say I wish
Hmm.
there were a couple more. There were some that we missed out on, like Silk having
Yeah, that's true.
conversations with anyone other than Faye, and Faye having
Yeah,
conversations not about Alm.
yeah. Hmm.
But other than that, I
Yeah,
feel like
I'm
it was a
with
good
you on that
amount.
one. All right. So what about villains?
All right.
What I mean, who's your prime villain? We talked about prime lord, prime main character. What is the prime villain now?
Okay, so my first thoughts go to characters
Hmm.
like Ashnard
Oh
from
yeah.
FE9 and Zephiel from FE6. Just like big,
Hmm.
hulking, menacing
Or woman.
men.
Yeah.
It could be a woman. I'm gender neutral here. Could be a woman that just kick
Hmm.
like similar to like my Lord idea, where they're just brutal and they just kill people, except they don't have the same morals as your Lord character. I think it'd be interesting to have. It'd be an interesting foil to have two characters that are super brutal and
Hmm.
will kill if when they have to, but the morals like what they like the foil of their beliefs, seeing them next to each other would be different. Like if they really both believe that they're correct in what they're doing, and so I guess what I'm saying is I want a villain that's setting more in the like a gray
Right.
area than being the obvious like black and white of good and evil. I want this villain that's like not cartoony, has good motivation, is super large,
Hmm.
scary, threatening, imposing, kills a lot of people, but he believes it is the right thing to do
Right. I
for
like that. Yeah,
whatever
the
backstory
motivation
reasons.
is a big key in the Fire Emblem games, and that's it. Just cuts it from like a cartoony villain that's just I'm gonna bring back the evil, dragon to uh, Ashnard. We brought him up again. He just maybe not moral gray. I wouldn't say he's a moral gray, but his motivations are clear and they're imposing and they're scary in a sense. To be like, well, the people of Dane love him because of it, kind of thing. They're or they hate him. I don't know, but he's set his ground. He has his grounded motivation. So
Yeah, and that you bring up an interesting point. I'm not sure. I cannot remember off the top of my head like the people of Dane like how they felt about Ashnard as a king. Probably poorly in most
right,
part
that's
because
true.
he's the Mad King Ashnard. He's evil. But I want that where it is like people are very impassioned.
Yes,
Like his followers are like love him. His kingdom see him as like
right.
awesome. Like like he's saving the kingdom or whatever, and vice versa for the main lord as well. I
But just going
I,
too
I do
far,
want
kind
to.
of
I
thing.
guess
Yeah,
so. What it comes down like so what we're saying. I think there should be some parity between the main character and the main villain
right.
in their character. Like
That
have
would
them be
be very
similar.
interesting. And I
I
like
think
that
that'd
you
be
brought up
interesting.
that they're imposing. I want to be kind of nervous fighting a Fire Emblem Lord again. I don't want it to be like, here's and then there's this guy and we're gonna fight him. I want it to be like, let's try, but obviously that goes back down to difficulty. What we've already talked about. We got to balance it so it's not too difficult, but not like so easy that we kick his butt in like one turn. You just or her.
Or her, gender neutral. I think a big part of it too is that they need to be present
Yeah.
enough throughout the story that they are scary. Zephiel
Mm-hmm.
in FE6 does a good job of being present enough to where you like he is menacing. Like you see him in one scene, he attacks Cecilia and crits her, and I don't know. It's just his crit animation
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
his animation is just like freaking terrifying. He chops a person and a horse like in half with his giant
Yeah.
sword in that
Yeah.
animation. It's just like whoa, he's scary. And I remember playing that for the
Yep.
first time, thinking, oh man, that boss battle is going to be rough. It doesn't end up being that rough in the end because it's Fire Emblem and final bosses
Yeah.
and or just bosses in general are never
Yeah.
as tough as you think they might be. But that was a good idea. That was like a good instance of in-game story
Right.
wise showing
He
that he
is
is
the he
supposed
is
to be
throughout the story. He doesn't just
terrifying.
show up at the end like some
Yeah, like what I'm trying to think of some villains that just like show up at the end in
Demon
Fire
Lord
Emblem. I don't
kind
think
of
that
does.
happens too much. Yeah, I agree. Demon Lord.
He's present
Nurgle's
enough.
not super present, but he's
Uh,
present enough.
Grima. You know.
Grima, he's not present at all. I agree with that one. Oh, and like Medius
Oh
and
yeah.
Shadow
Yeah.
Dragon or FE1, and where like I mean you hear about him, but you never see him until like you like it
Right.
becomes to the point where you're about to fight him. Like you have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
encounters with Garneth, the scary mage dude, and he's scary because you can't kill him. You can't beat Garneth. Yeah, that's one where it's just kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
big scary
Yeah.
dragon dude on the last level. I guess he's the bad guy if you weren't like
Yeah.
paying close attention. All right. I think that wraps
Yeah.
up our Fire Emblem
That's
discussion for the day. Unless you have anything else to
no.
add.
I'm excited to see what they do, and I think in the end, I no matter what, we're gonna play it in the set because they got us. They got us too good.
That's where I'm at. No matter what, I'm gonna play it. Like I heard nothing but
Mm,
honestly, I heard almost nothing but bad things about Fates, but I finally took to the
right.
dive
I'll
and picked it
probably
up
end up
because
doing the
it's Fire
same.
Emblem and I wanted to play it. But I think, yeah, we're gonna play this game at some point, and honestly, I will probably be a day one buyer, which I have
Mm-hmm.
been for most of Fire Emblems
Mm-hmm.
since Radiant Dawn. I didn't get
Right.
obviously didn't get Fates day one, but I got everything else. Anyways, so I guess in the conclusion, just to like wrap all of our thoughts up, we want just a compelling story with a
Mm-hmm.
different than usual Fire Emblem Lord, with a morally gray
Mm-hmm.
story where there isn't really one right side, and just be original and good. And we're
Segment.
sick of fan service in
Mm-hmm.
the Fates Awakening style. I mean, fine, we can have supports and everything where people fall in love. I don't really want I don't really want children characters to come back or anything. And I just want you to be good, Fire Emblem
Just
16.
be good.
Just be good.
Yes,
Please
I'm
just
with
be
you on
good.
that one. So I think that wraps it up.
Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. And tune in next week for our video about the Legend of Zelda franchise.